Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargava again. Welcome to Tidbits on Business and Finance with me. Let us talk about consumer confidence today. Let us talk about the outlook, the perception, the feeling of optimism of the man on the ground. We are heading to an election year, and it is pretty obvious for the government to paint a very rosy, positive, upbeat picture of the Indian economy and its prospects. The ground realities look to be pointing otherwise. The direction is different from what the government would want us to believe. And this comes from a recent survey on consumer confidence by the Reserve Bank of India. The survey conducted by the Reserve Bank says that more than half the respondents to this survey think that their income prospects, employment prospects, and the general economic condition prospects of the country will not improve in the next 12 months. So, there seems to be uncertainty and anxiety in their minds. 48.2% of the respondents, only 48.2% of the respondents think that the general economic conditions are likely to improve. 25% of them actually think that they will worsen. 42% of them think that the income levels will improve, just 42%, but 32% think that they will actually worsen. And 49% of the respondents report that they expect an improvement in their employment conditions, but 32% think they could worsen. So the general tone at the conclusion of this survey of the Reserve Bank is not one that the government may want us to believe. It is not a rosy picture that emerges as far as consumer confidence is concerned. Now, this finding is in contrast with another figure that came out day before yesterday. And the figure is that industrial infrastructure growth in India has recorded a 7-month high last month. It touched a growth of 6.7%. Now, this infra growth is measured as a factor of growth in 8 key sectors of the economy, which include oil and gas, coal, and power, and they constitute 40% of India's industrial growth. Now, this kind of a growth, a 7-month high, a 6.7% growth in the infra sector, is handsome. It should actually mean that things are hunky-dory. It should actually mean that things are optimistic. So this finding of infra sector growth shooting up is in contrast with the consumer confidence growth findings of the Reserve Bank of India. That's a little not very interesting. It is not really compatible with each other, because as I said, if the infra sector grows, the consumer confidence should also grow. What are the reasons for this mismatch? Because the other factor that the government gives us is that the ease of doing business in India has improved. But then if the ease of doing business in India has improved, why is the informal sector not in the best of shape? And again, why is the consumer perception or the consumer confidence not optimistic? The reason could be, first, that the impact of growth that we are talking, or the impact of ease of doing business that we are talking, or the impact of the GDP growth that the statistics reveal has not come down to the common man. That is very likely. In that case, it points to rising inequalities. The second reason could be that the findings of the RBI do not represent those of the country as a whole, because this survey of the Reserve Bank was conducted only in 6 metro cities of India, which is Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi, Calcutta, and Mumbai. It did not conduct any such survey in the small towns and left the rural part of India completely out of the survey. Now, the general perception or the ground reality is that India is facing a rural distress, and if the impact of rural distress was also considered in the consumer confidence, probably the findings could have been even more poorer. In other words, if you take the entire part of India, the urban and the rural, the semi-urban, the small town, if you factor it in this kind of a survey, the findings could be even more deteriorating. The consumer confidence could probably be lower. And why is that so? Why is the consumer confidence not in tandem with the infra growth that we are talking? To us, the reason could be that at the consumer level, what matters is inflation is going up. What matters is jobs have been difficult to come by. And what matters is the informal sector is not looking up, is still to recover to its full from the impact of the GST and the demonetization. With this, the consumer confidence is bound to dip. So, maybe some boats are rising, but the 1,000 boats of the economy, by virtue of the growth, have not risen, and that reflects in the consumer confidence. The government will need to ensure that the benefits of growth percolate down to the normal consumer for the confidence to really shoot up. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.